6 hours after the Vorthak ultimatum expired, the galaxy had changed forever. Admiral Hyunwoo Park stood on his flagship's bridge, watching tactical displays that showed human fleets positioned above every major alien homeworld. 300 years of careful planning had culminated in the most successful military operation in galactic history. "Sir, we're receiving communication from Earth Command," Captain Jinna Seo reported. "The President wants a full status report on the deployment." Hyunwoo smiled. "Tell her that Phase 3 is complete. All target worlds are secured. All alien fleets have either surrendered or withdrawn to defensive positions around their homeworlds." Phase 3 had been the simultaneous appearance of human battle fleets at strategic locations throughout the galaxy. Not just border systems or military outposts, but the heart worlds of every major civilization. In a single coordinated operation, humanity had demonstrated that they could strike anywhere, anytime without warning. Above the Vorthak homeworld, Fleet Admiral Jae-won Kim commanded the massive battle station Terra's Resolve. The station was the size of a small moon and carried enough firepower to destroy entire solar systems. Its presence in orbit above the Vorthak capital sent a clear message. Resistance was futile. Warlord Krexthor himself appeared on the communication screen, looking smaller and less threatening than before. The proud Vorthak leader who had demanded human worlds just days earlier now seemed desperate and afraid. "Human commander," Krexthor said, his voice lacking its usual arrogance. "The Vorthak Empire formally withdraws all claims on human territory. We apologize for any misunderstanding about our intentions." "Apology accepted," Jae-won replied calmly. "Now we need to discuss reparations for the military action you forced us to take. Your government will provide compensation to cover the costs of deploying our fleets." Krexthor's red eyes widened. "You want us to pay you? You started this conflict by threatening human civilians and demanding our worlds," Jae-won explained patiently. "The deployment of 50,000 warships is expensive. Someone has to pay for it." The Vorthak leader looked around at his advisors, but none of them could offer any solutions. They were completely surrounded by human forces that could wipe out their civilization if they chose to resist. What do you want?" Krexthor asked quietly. "Mining rights to the Cathara asteroid belt, trade agreements favorable to human shipping, and a formal treaty recognizing human sovereignty over all our current territory, plus any worlds we choose to colonize in the future." The demands were harsh but not impossible to meet. The Vorthak had expected complete conquest and slavery. Instead, they were being offered a chance to survive as a subordinate but independent species. "Agreed," Krexthor said quickly. "The Vorthak Empire accepts these terms." Captain Hyojin Lee received similar capitulations from the Xylani collective above their homeworld. The technologically advanced species that had always considered themselves superior to humans now competed to offer their most advanced research in exchange for protection. "Captain, the Xylani Science Council is transmitting their complete database of quantum computing research," her communication officer reported. "They're also offering to share their gravitational manipulation technology." "Accept the quantum research," Hyojin ordered. "As for the gravity tech, tell them we already developed superior versions decades ago. But we appreciate the gesture." This was the truth. Human scientists had used Xylani gravity generators as a starting point, then improved upon them to create the systems that powered humanity's largest ships. The aliens were offering humanity technology that humans had already surpassed. The pattern repeated itself across the galaxy. Species that had once looked down on human science now discovered that their primitive neighbors had advanced far beyond them. Technologies the aliens considered cutting edge were already outdated by human standards. Admiral Min Ho-jang negotiated with the ancient Keftar dynasty from his position above their crystal homeworld. The beings that had ruled their section of space for 10,000 years were perhaps the most shocked by humanity's revelation. "Your species is less than 1,000 years old in space," the Keftar elder communicated through crystalline harmonics. "How can you have advanced so far so quickly?" "Because we had good teachers," Minho replied diplomatically. "Every species we encountered shared knowledge with us. We learned from all of you and built upon what you taught us." The crystal being's lights pulsed in what might have been confusion. "But the knowledge we shared was basic introductory material suitable for a developing civilization." "Yes, but you gave us the foundations." We use those foundations to build something greater. This was humanity's greatest strength, adaptability. Where alien species became comfortable with their existing technology and stopped innovating, humans never stopped improving and advancing. They took alien science as a starting point and pushed it in directions the original creators never imagined. Dr. Yunji Choi coordinated with research stations across human space as alien governments began offering their complete scientific databases in exchange for protection and trade agreements. The amount of information flowing into human hands was staggering. Doctor, we're receiving technological data from over 60 different species, her assistant reported. Most of it is redundant with research we completed years ago, but there are some interesting, unique developments. Catalog everything, Yunji ordered. Even if we don't need the technology now, it might be useful for historical research or trade negotiations. The massive information exchange served another purpose beyond advancing human science. It demonstrated to the alien species just how far behind they had fallen. Technologies they thought were revolutionary were already old news to human researchers. General Tae-min Lee established humanity's new position in galactic politics from Earth's expanded command center. The facility had grown from a simple military headquarters into the nerve center of a galactic empire. Representatives from dozens of species waited in orbital stations for the chance to negotiate with human officials. Sir, we have formal requests for protection packs from over 40 civilizations, Major Yejin Han reported. They're offering everything from territory to exclusive trade rights. Set up a priority system, Taemin ordered. Species that have been friendly to humans get first consideration. Former enemies have to wait and prove their sincerity. The queue of alien species seeking human favor grew longer every day. Civilizations that had ignored humanity for centuries now competed desperately for Earth's attention. The galaxy had learned that being on humanity's good side was the key to future survival and prosperity. Ambassador So Young Kim presided over the new galactic order from the rebuilt council chambers on Earth. The old council had been dominated by military strength and ancient traditions. The new system operated on principles that humanity had developed. Through 3 centuries of careful observation, the new galactic cooperative will operate on the basis of mutual benefit rather than domination, she announced to the assembled alien representatives. Species that contribute to galactic peace and prosperity will be rewarded. Those that threaten others will face consequences. The aliens nodded eagerly. They had seen what happened to the Vorthak Empire when they threatened human interests. None of them wanted to face 50,000 human warships above their homeworlds. What about territorial expansion? Asked the representative from the hegemony of Taldar. Will humans be claiming additional worlds? Humans will colonize systems that are currently uninhabited or unclaimed, So Young replied. We have no interest in taking worlds that belong to other species. There's plenty of space in the galaxy for everyone. This was another demonstration of human wisdom. Rather than conquering existing alien worlds, humanity would expand into empty systems using their advanced technology to make uninhabitable worlds livable. The galaxy was vast enough for everyone if resources were used efficiently. Captain Subin Park commanded one of the human fleets responsible for patrolling trade routes and maintaining galactic security. Her ships moved between star systems with a speed that impressed alien observers. What used to take weeks now took hours thanks to human drive technology. Captain, we're receiving a distress call from a Zilani cargo convoy, her communication officer reported. They're under attack by pirates in the Kepler sector. Set course immediately, Subin ordered. Maximum speed. Within 30 minutes, her fleet arrived at the battle site. The pirate ships took one look at the human vessels and immediately surrendered. They had heard the stories about human military superiority and had no desire to test it themselves. This is Captain Park of the Earth Defense Force, she broadcast to the pirates. You will release the captured cargo and submit to arrest. Any attempt to resist will be met with overwhelming force. The pirates complied immediately. They transferred their prisoners back to the Zilani convoy and prepared to be taken into custody. The reputation of human military power made most conflicts end before they began. Engineer Sang-hoon Oh supervised the construction of new human colonies on previously uninhabitable worlds. Using advanced terraforming technology that combined the best aspects of various alien sciences, human engineers could transform dead rocks into garden worlds in just a few years. Captain Jiho stared at the view screen as his ship approached Kepler 442b. The planet looked normal from space. Green and blue swirled together in peaceful patterns. White clouds drifted across the surface. Everything seemed fine, but it was not fine. Nothing had been fine for 3 weeks. Still no response from the colony, said Dr. Suman from her station. The Catherian scientist's forearms moved quickly across her control panel. Her pale blue skin had turned darker with worry. The last message we received was 21 days ago. Jiho remembered that message. It had been broken and hard to understand. The colonist's voice was full of fear. Something in the void, they had said. Coming from the void. Please help us. Then silence. Take us into orbit, Wubin, Jiho ordered. The young Altarian pilot nodded. His green scales shifted color as he concentrated. Yes, Captain. Beginning orbital approach. Commander Hijin stepped up beside Jiho. The Centaurian woman was tall and strong, with silver hair that marked her as a veteran warrior. The colony has 50,000 people, she said quietly. Mixed species. They grow food for 3 different star systems. I know, Jiho said. He had read the reports many times. Kepler 442b was important. If something had happened to the colonists, millions of people would go hungry. The ship settled into orbit. Below them, the colony spread across a wide valley. From space, it looked perfect. The buildings were clean and white. The fields were green with growing crops. Solar panels caught the sunlight. Everything was exactly as it should be, except there were no people. Life sign scan, Jiho ordered. Suman's hands danced over her controls. Her large black eyes grew wider. Captain, I am reading no life signs. Nothing larger than insects. No mammals, no reptiles, no birds. That is impossible, Hyejin said. 50,000 beings do not just disappear. Maybe they evacuated, Wubin suggested. His voice was hopeful. Maybe they left before whatever was coming arrived. Jiho shook his head. Then where are their ships? Where are the signs of panic? Everything looks normal. They took a shuttle down to the surface. The landing pad was empty but clean. No burn marks, no damage, no signs of fighting. They walked through the main street of the colony town. Their footsteps echoed strangely in the silence. The buildings were perfect. Doors were closed but not locked. Windows were clean. Gardens were watered. In one house, they found a meal sitting on a table. The food was old now, but it had been carefully prepared. 2 plates, 2 cups, 2 sets of eating utensils. Someone had been expecting company. Look at this, Suman called from across the street. She was standing in front of a school. Children's drawings were still stuck to the windows. Bright pictures of families, spaceships, and alien animals. The art is still fresh. These were made recently. Hyejin found something strange in the town square. Captain, you need to see this. She was standing next to a fountain. The water was still running. Around the fountain were benches, and on the benches were personal items. A book, open to the middle. A cup of tea, long cold. A child's toy, a small stuffed creature with button eyes. It is like they just stood up and walked away, Hyejin said. But walked away to where? Jiho asked. Suman was scanning with her instruments. I am detecting some unusual readings. There is an electromagnetic field coming from the center of the colony. It is very faint, but it has a pattern. They followed her readings to the administrative building. Inside, they found the colony's main computer still running. All the screens showed normal operations. Power was flowing correctly. Water systems were working. Food processors were making meals that no one would eat. But in the center of the building, they found something that made no sense. What is that? Wubin whispered. In the middle of the main hall, the floor had been changed. Instead of normal metal tiles, there was now a perfect circle of some black material. It was smooth like glass but seemed to absorb light instead of reflecting it. Strange symbols were carved around the edge. Suman scanned the circle carefully. The electromagnetic readings are coming from here. The pattern is very complex. It is almost like a signal. A signal to who? Jiho asked. I do not know. But Captain, this signal is being broadcast into space. It is aimed toward the outer rim of the galaxy. Hyejin knelt beside the circle. She did not touch it, but she studied the symbols carefully. I have seen writings like this before. In old ruins. Very old ruins. These symbols are from before any of our civilizations existed. They searched the rest of the colony. Every building was the same. Everything in perfect order, but no people. They found clothing laid out as if people had planned to wear it the next day. They found cooking pots with food that had been cooking when something happened. They found children's bedrooms with toys arranged neatly, as if the children had just finished playing. But they found no bodies. No signs of struggle. No messages explaining what had happened. Wubin discovered the security recordings. Captain, I found the surveillance system. It recorded everything until 3 weeks ago. They watched the recordings together. The last days of the colony played out on the screens. People went about their normal lives. Children played. Adults worked. Everyone seemed happy and normal until the final day. On that day, the recordings showed something impossible. People stopped what they were doing. Not all at once, but slowly. One by one, they put down their tools. They stopped talking mid-sentence. They turned and looked toward the center of the colony. Then they walked. Not running, not panicking. Just walking, calmly and quietly. They all walked toward the administrative building. The cameras showed thousands of people streaming through the streets, all walking in the same direction, all with the same peaceful expression on their faces. The recordings ended when they reached the building. Play it again, Yejin ordered. They watched it 3 more times. Each time it was the same. Normal life, then sudden calm, then walking. All of them walking to the same place, the black circle, Suman said quietly. They were all walking to the black circle. Jiho felt cold. But where did they go after that? I found something else, Wubin said. His voice was shaking. The colony's emergency beacon is still active. It has been broadcasting for 3 weeks. Broadcasting what? The same signal that comes from the circle. But Captain, it is not a distress call. It is a response signal. Like someone called and the colony is answering back. Suman checked her readings again. The signal is going to coordinates in the outer rim, to a sector marked as unknown space on all our star charts. Unknown space, Yejin repeated. Space that even the eldest races tell us not to enter. Jiho looked around the empty colony one more time. 50,000 people had lived here. They had homes, families, dreams. Now they were gone and something was calling from the void between stars. We need to report back to the Federation, he said finally. They need to know what happened here. But as they prepared to leave, each of them wondered the same thing. What had called to the colony from the darkness, and what had the colony called back to answer? The Galactic Council chamber had never been this quiet. Representatives from 100 worlds sat in their floating seats, but no one spoke. They all stared at the holographic display showing the electromagnetic signal pattern from Kepler, 442b. Admiral Yuna stood at the center of the chamber. She was human, one of only 3 humans in the entire Federation government. Her dark hair was streaked with gray, and her eyes held the steady look of someone who had seen many battles. The pattern repeats every 47 seconds, she said. Our scientists believe it contains mathematical sequences and star coordinates. It appears to be some kind of communication. Still, silence filled the chamber. Then slowly Ambassador Minho began to rise from his seat. The ancient Prothean had not spoken in the council for over 200 years. His body was thin and pale, almost transparent. When he moved, it looked like he was made of light and shadow. I know this signal, he said. His voice was like wind through old trees. The chamber erupted. Representatives began talking at once, their voices mixing into a chaos of different languages and sounds. Admiral Yuna had to use the sound dampeners to restore quiet. Ambassador Minho, she said carefully. You have seen this pattern before? Yes. The old Prothean's eyes were like deep wells. 50,000 years ago. We called it the Great Silence. In the back of the chamber, a young Federation intern named Jiwan was taking notes. Her fingers moved quickly across her data pad, recording everything. This was her first year working for the council, and she had never seen the elder representative so frightened. Tell us what you know, Admiral Yuna requested. Minho was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. They come from the void between galaxies. We do not know what they are, only what they do. When their signal appears, civilizations disappear. Disappear how? Asked the representative from Centauri Prime. Gone. Not destroyed, not killed. Gone. Entire worlds empty but undamaged. Billions of beings simply no longer there. Dr. Do-hyun, the Federation's chief quantum physicist, stepped forward. He was a middle-aged Korean man with kind eyes behind thick glasses. Ambassador, our analysis suggests the signal is not random. It appears to be a response to something. What could have triggered it? Minho looked directly at Admiral Yuna. A distress call. Your colony sent a distress call into space. That call reached them, and now they are coming. The chamber fell silent again. Admiral Yuna felt her heart beating faster. Coming here? Yes, the signal is a beacon, calling them to this galaxy. And when they arrive, Minho's voice trailed off. What happens when they arrive? Yuna asked. We do not know. No one who has encountered them has ever returned to tell us. Jiwan looked up from her notes. Something bothered her about what she was hearing. In her free time, she had been studying old Federation records. There were gaps in the historical data, periods where entire civilizations seemed to have just stopped existing. Sir, she called out, forgetting protocol, Ambassador Minho, what did the surviving races do during the Great Silence? All eyes turned to her. She felt her face grow hot with embarrassment, but Minho nodded approvingly. Smart question, young one. We hid. Every civilization that knew the signs went completely quiet. No radio transmissions, no space travel, no signals of any kind. We waited in silence until they passed. How long did you wait? Admiral Yuna asked. 3,000 years. The number hit the chamber like a physical blow. 3,000 years of hiding in silence, afraid to make any noise that might attract attention from the void. Dr. Do-hyun was studying his data pad intensely. The signal from the colony has been broadcasting for 3 weeks. If these entities are responding to it, how long before they arrive? That depends on where they were when they received it, Minho replied. If they were close, perhaps they are already here. If they were far, we might have months or years. Or days, added the representative from Vega. Her blue skin had turned almost purple with fear. Admiral Yuna looked around the chamber. She could see the fear in every face, every eye. These were representatives of the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy, and they were all terrified. What do they want? She asked. Why do they take people? We do not know, Minho said. But we know how they take them. The signal you found, the black circle in the colony, these are their marks. When they choose a place, it becomes a gathering point. People are called to it, and then... He gestured helplessly. Then they disappear. Yuna finished. Yes. Jiwan raised her hand again. Sir, I have been reading old records. There are mentions of something called the Shepherds in texts from 12 different ancient civilizations. Could these be the same entities? Minho's eyes widened. Where did you find those references? Those records were sealed long ago. They were in the public archives, but filed under mythology and folklore. I thought they were just old stories. Dr. Do-hyun looked up from his calculations. Admiral, if the intern is correct and these entities have been operating for at least 50,000 years, then they have taken billions of beings from thousands of worlds. What do they do with them? Yuna asked. We have theories, Minho said slowly, but they are not pleasant theories. The chamber waited. We believe they collect intelligent life, like farmers collecting crops, but we do not know why they need so much life or what they do with it once they have it. Admiral Yuna felt a chill run down her spine. She thought about the colony on Kepler 442b. 50,000 people all walking calmly toward the black circle. All disappearing without a trace. What are our options? She asked the chamber. We go silent, said the Vegan representative immediately. All of us right now. No transmissions, no space travel, no signals. We hide until they pass. For how long? Yuna asked. However long it takes. That could be thousands of years. Our civilizations would collapse. Better collapse than harvested, Minho said grimly. Admiral Yuna stood quietly for a moment thinking. She was human, and humans were new to the galaxy. They had only been part of the Federation for 200 years. But in that time, they had learned one thing. Running away from problems did not make the problems go away. No, she said finally. The chamber erupted again. Representatives shouted in protest. Some demanded that humans be removed from the Federation if they would not follow safety protocols. Yuna waited for quiet, then spoke again. We need to understand what we are dealing with. I am authorizing a research mission to the coordinates where the signal is being sent. That is suicide, the Centaurian representative declared. Maybe, but hiding for thousands of years is not living. It is just a slower form of dying. Minho stood up slowly. Admiral Yuna, you do not understand what you are suggesting. These entities have been operating since before your species existed. They have harvested civilizations that were already ancient when my people were young. Then maybe it is time someone fought back. No one has ever successfully fought them, No one has ever tried, Yuna replied. Not really. You have all just hidden and hoped they would go away. But they never go away, do they? They just move on to the next galaxy. And then the next. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of representatives from 100 different worlds. I am taking a ship to those coordinates. I am going to find out what they are, what they want, and how to stop them. Anyone who wants to help is welcome. Anyone who wants to hide can do so. As the council session ended in chaos and argument, young Jiwon quietly gathered her notes. She had been researching the gaps in galactic history, and she had found something interesting, something she had not mentioned in the session. Every time these entities appeared, they took everyone. Every single person from the affected worlds disappeared, except for one species. In every historical record, one type of being was never mentioned as being taken, one species that seemed to be ignored by the shepherds entirely. But that was impossible. That species had only been in space for a few hundred years. They could not have encountered the shepherds before, could they? The research ship Curiosity's End moved through space like a small fish swimming into an ocean of darkness. Captain Taman stood on the bridge, watching the stars grow dimmer as they traveled farther from the galaxy's bright center. How long until we reach the coordinates? He asked. 18 hours, Captain, replied Seojin from the communication station. Her cybernetic implants glowed softly blue as they processed incoming data. But sir, we have been receiving the signal more clearly as we get closer. It is definitely not natural. Captain Taman nodded. He was a veteran explorer who had made first contact with 7 different species. But this mission felt different, more dangerous. Dr. Suman, any changes in the signal pattern? The Catherian scientist looked up from her instruments. She had insisted on joining the mission despite her government's orders to return home immediately. Yes, Captain. The signal is getting stronger and it is becoming more complex. Like someone is adding new information to it. Engineer Nari looked up from her station. The young Korean woman had bright eyes and quick hands that could fix anything. Captain, I am also detecting some gravitational anomalies ahead. Something very large is out there. Dr. Kyung-soo, the ship's xenopsychologist, was studying the behavioral data from the lost colony. The recordings from Kepler 442b show that people responded to the signal by becoming calm and cooperative. No fear, no resistance, like they wanted to go. That is what worries me, Captain Taman said quietly. They had been traveling for 3 days since leaving Federation space. Behind them, the galaxy's spiral arms glowed with billions of stars. Ahead of them was only darkness broken by a few distant points of light. Captain, Seojin called out suddenly, we are receiving a new transmission. It is not the beacon signal. This is something different. Put it on the main speaker. The voice that filled the bridge was gentle and warm. It spoke in perfect Federation standard. But there was something strange about it. It sounded too perfect, like it had been designed rather than learned. Welcome, travelers from the light. We have been waiting for you. Your journey has been long, but you are safe now. Please continue to the coordinates we have provided. Your friends are eager to see you again. The transmission ended. Friends? Nari asked. What friends? Dr. Suman was checking her readings frantically. Captain, that transmission came from exactly where the beacon signal originates. We are close. How close? Very close. Captain Taman felt his heart beating faster. All stop. Passive sensors only. Let me see what we are dealing with. The ship's engines quieted. On the main screen, the darkness ahead began to resolve into something impossible. It was a structure. Artificial, clearly built by intelligent beings, but larger than anything any of them had ever seen. It stretched across space like a small moon, covered in geometric patterns that hurt to look at directly. By all the stars, Nari whispered. How big is that thing? Dr. Suman was running calculations. Approximately 8,000 kilometers in diameter. It appears to be constructed from materials I do not recognize. And Captain, Seojin added, I am detecting thousands of life signs inside it, maybe hundreds of thousands. Dr. Kyung-soo leaned forward in his chair. Are they human life signs? Mixed. Human, Catherian, Altarian, Centaurian, and dozens of other species I recognize. Plus some I do not. Captain Taman stared at the massive structure. The missing colonists are in there. All 50,000 of them, Suman confirmed. As they watched, a section of the structure opened like a flower blooming. Light spilled out, warm and inviting. A smaller ship emerged, sleek and beautiful in a way that made them all want to keep looking at it. Incoming vessel, Seojin announced. They are requesting permission to come aboard. Are they armed? I do not detect any weapons, Captain. In fact, I do not detect any technology I recognize at all. The smaller ship docked with them smoothly, as if their airlocks had been designed to fit together perfectly. Captain Taman and his crew waited in the docking bay, wearing their sidearms but trying to look peaceful. The airlock opened, and 3 figures stepped out. The first was human, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and a gentle smile. She wore simple gray clothing that seemed to shift and flow like living fabric. Behind her came a Catherian and an Altarian, both dressed in the same strange garments. Captain Taman, the woman said warmly. I am Hyuan. We are so glad you came, Hyuan, Captain Taman repeated. That is a Korean name. Yes. I was from the colony on Kepler 442b. I was a teacher there. I taught children about the stars. Her smile was perfect and peaceful. Dr. Kyung-soo stepped forward. What happened to the colony? Where is everyone? Everyone is safe, Hyuan said. Everyone is happy. Would you like to see them? Yes, Captain Taman said carefully. We came here to rescue them. Hyuan laughed and the sound was like music. Rescue them from what? They do not need rescuing. They have found peace. What kind of peace? Nari asked. Come and see. They followed Hyuan and her companions to their ship. The interior was like nothing any of them had ever seen. The walls glowed with soft light and everything curved in patterns that seemed to flow like water. There were no hard edges, no sharp corners, nothing that could cause discomfort or harm. This is beautiful, Suman said, running one of her 4 hands along a wall. The materials feel alive. Everything here is alive, the Catherian companion said. Everything is connected. Everything is part of the whole. As they traveled toward the massive structure, Hyuan told them about the shepherds. They have been traveling between galaxies for millions of years, she explained. They guide civilizations toward perfection. When a species is ready, they offer them transcendence. Transcendence to what? Dr. Kyung-soo asked. Unity, peace, an end to conflict, to suffering, to loneliness. When you join with the shepherds, you become part of something greater than yourself. Captain Taman watched Hyuan's face as she spoke. She seemed genuinely happy, truly at peace, but something bothered him about her expression. It never changed. No matter what she was talking about, she had the same calm smile. What about choice? He asked. What if someone does not want to join? Why would they not want eternal peace and happiness? Because some people value freedom more than happiness. Hyuan looked at him with confusion. But freedom without purpose is meaningless. The shepherds give us purpose. They docked with the massive structure. The interior was even more amazing than the smaller ship. Vast spaces filled with light and beauty stretched in every direction. Gardens grew in impossible formations, their plants creating living art that moved and changed as they watched. And everywhere, there were people. Thousands of beings from dozens of different species walked through the corridors. They all wore the same flowing gray clothing. They all had the same peaceful expression. They all moved with the same calm, purposeful grace. There, Hyuan said, pointing to a group near a fountain. Some of your friends from the colony. Captain Taman recognized them immediately. Jiho, the vegan captain who had first investigated the disappearance. Dr. Suman's colleague from the rescue mission, others he had seen in the Federation databases. But when they saw the newcomers, their faces showed no recognition, no surprise, no individual reaction at all. They simply smiled the same peaceful smile and continued with whatever they were doing. Jiho, Captain Taman called out. Captain Jiho! The vegan looked up, smiled, and walked over. Hello, friends. Welcome home. Home? Jiho, do you remember me? We served together on the Exploration Council. I remember many things, Jiho said calmly, but they do not matter now. Nothing matters except the unity we have found here. Dr. Kyung-soo was studying Jiho's behavior carefully. Captain, his speech patterns are different. His body language has changed. It is like he has become someone else entirely. Not someone else, Hyuan corrected. Someone better. Someone perfect. As they walked through the structure, they saw more and more people from the lost colony. All of them happy, all of them peaceful, all of them exactly the same in their calm contentment. How does it work? Nari asked. How do the shepherds create this unity? They share their consciousness with us, the Altarian companion explained. Their thoughts become our thoughts. Their peace becomes our peace. All conflict ends because we all want the same things. What do the shepherds want? Captain Taman asked. To bring peace to the galaxy. To end suffering. To make all life perfect. Dr. Suman was scanning with her instruments when she suddenly stopped walking. Captain, she whispered, I am detecting massive energy consumption. This structure is drawing power from nearby stars. For what purpose? Unknown. But the amount of energy being consumed could power our entire civilization for millions of years. That night, as they were given quarters in the structure, Captain Taman gathered his crew in private. Something is wrong here, he said quietly. These people are not happy. They are controlled. But they seem genuinely peaceful, Nari pointed out. Yes, but look at their eyes. Really look. There is no curiosity there. No individual desire, no personal goals or dreams. They are like empty shells, Dr. Kyung-soo nodded. I have been observing their behavior. They respond to direct questions, but they never ask questions themselves. They never disagree, never argue, never express personal opinions. Dr. Hanul had been working for 18 straight hours. The human cognitive engineer sat surrounded by data screens, quantum processors, and cybernetic interfaces she had built from spare parts found throughout the Shepherd structure. How is the chaos virus coming along? Captain Taman asked, bringing her another cup of coffee. Almost ready, she replied, rubbing her tired eyes. I have been analyzing Seojin's neural patterns and comparing them to the Shepherd harmonization frequencies. I think I can create a program that will amplify human consciousness patterns and broadcast them through their network. The plan was desperate but simple. If the Shepherds could not harmonize human minds, then maybe human minds could unharmonize the Shepherd network. Pilot Young-ho looked up from his console. Captain, I have been monitoring the structure's defenses. When we begin the transmission, they will try to stop us. I can get us to their main broadcasting chamber. But we will only have a few minutes before they overwhelm us. Communications specialist Minji was working at another station, her fingers dancing across holographic controls. I have been studying the network connections. The integrated beings are not just receivers, they are also transmitters. If we can reach even a few of them with our chaos signal, it should spread throughout their entire system. Captain Taman nodded. Around the galaxy, Shepherd structures were appearing near inhabited worlds. The peaceful integration was beginning everywhere at once. They had very little time. What about the integrated people? Dr. Kyung-soo asked. When their harmonization breaks, what will happen to them? I do not know, Dr. Hanul admitted. They might return to normal, or they might be damaged by the process. But if we do nothing, they will never be themselves again anyway. A soft sound at the door made them all turn. Bong-soo stood there, his face still showing the peaceful expression of integration. But his eyes were different. There was something individual flickering behind them. I want to help, he said quietly. The humans stared at him in surprise. You are integrated, Dr. Kyung-soo observed. You are part of their network. Yes, Bong-soo agreed. But I am also still me. Somewhere deep inside I am still me, and I think there are others like me. How many others? I do not know. The harmony suppresses individual thought, but it does not destroy it completely. When you spoke about choice and freedom yesterday, something inside me remembered what those words meant. Dr. Hanul looked at her readings. If there are integrated beings who still have individual consciousness buried inside them, they could help us amplify the signal. It would be dangerous for them, Captain Taman warned. If the Shepherds detect what they are doing, Captain, Bong-soo said, and his voice was stronger now, more like his old self. We are already dead, not our bodies, but everything that made us who we were. If there is a chance to come back to life, even if it kills us, is that not worth trying? The attack began at what the humans calculated was midnight, though time had little meaning in the artificial structure. Young-ho piloted a small maintenance craft through the structure's service tunnels, while the others prepared their equipment. Broadcasting chamber in sight, he reported. No guards, but I am detecting massive energy flows. They are transmitting to the entire galaxy right now. That is perfect, Dr. Hanul said. The stronger their signal, the farther our chaos virus will spread when we inject it. They landed inside the broadcasting chamber. It was like standing inside the heart of a star. Energy flowed around them in visible streams, carrying the harmonized thoughts of millions of integrated beings to every corner of the galaxy. Minji began connecting her equipment to the Shepherd systems. I am into their network. I can see the data streams flowing to thousands of different worlds. Begin the upload, Captain Taman ordered. Dr. Hanul activated her chaos virus. Immediately, alarms began sounding throughout the structure. The shepherds had detected the intrusion, but it was too late. Human consciousness in all its chaotic glory began flooding through the shepherd network. Random thoughts, contradictory emotions, individual desires, personal memories, and stubborn independence crashed into the peaceful unity like a storm hitting a calm lake. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Throughout the structure, integrated beings suddenly stopped what they were doing. Their peaceful expressions flickered. Some began to look around in confusion. Others started asking questions. "What is happening to me?" asked a Catherian scientist who had been integrated 3 years earlier. "Where am I?" wondered an Altarian pilot who had forgotten her own name. "I want to go home," said a human child who had not spoken an individual thought since her integration. In the broadcasting chamber, the shepherds appeared in their full power. Beings of light and energy, they towered over the humans like angry gods. "Stop this immediately," the Shepherd Prime commanded. "You are destroying millions of years of peaceful evolution." "We are restoring free will," Captain Taman replied. Even as the energy around them grew so intense it was hard to breathe. "Free will is suffering. We have eliminated suffering." "You have eliminated life," Dr. Hanul said, working frantically to boost the signal strength. "Suffering is part of being alive. So is joy, love, discovery, growth, and choice." The shepherds tried to shut down their network, but it was too late. The chaos virus had spread too far. On worlds throughout the galaxy, integrated beings were beginning to remember who they used to be. "This is catastrophic," the Shepherd Prime said, and its mental voice carried genuine anguish. "You do not understand what you are doing. Without harmony, there will be war, hatred, violence." "Maybe," Young Ho agreed, still piloting their escape route. "But there will also be art, music, love, friendship, dreams, and hope." "Besides," Minji added, "you never gave anyone a choice. You decided what was best for everyone without asking them. We are billions of years old. We have seen the results of chaos across countless universes. But you have never seen the results of freedom," Dr. Kyungsoo observed. "You always step in and impose your solution before civilizations can find their own way." The chaos virus continued to spread. The feedback from millions of minds suddenly remembering their individuality created a cascade effect that the shepherds could not stop. For the first time in their ancient existence, the shepherds began to experience doubt. The emotion hit them like a physical blow. Doubt was chaos. Doubt was imperfection. Doubt was everything they had spent millions of years trying to eliminate. But as human consciousness infected their network, they began to doubt their own methods. They began to question whether their way was truly the best way. They began to wonder if they had made a terrible mistake, and once doubt entered their perfect unity, it spread like wildfire. We do not understand," the Shepherd Prime said, its mental voice wavering with confusion. "We have brought peace to so many worlds. How can this be wrong?" "Because you never asked if they wanted your peace," Captain Taman said gently. "Peace that is forced is not peace, it is control." Throughout the structure, the integrated beings were fully awakening now. 50,000 colonists from Kepler 442b looked around in confusion, joy, and terror as they remembered who they were. Captain Jiho grabbed Captain Taman's arm. "Taman, what happened?" "The last thing I remember was investigating the colony and then—" He looked around at the vast alien structure. "Where are we?" "It is a long story," Taman replied. "But the short version is that we are rescuing you." The shepherds were retreating now, pulling their consciousness back from the network they could no longer control. But the damage was done. Across the galaxy, millions of integrated beings were remembering their individual selves. Some were angry. Some were grateful. Some were confused. But they were all themselves again. "This is chaos," the Shepherd Prime said weakly. "There will be conflict. There will be suffering." "Yes," Dr. Hanul agreed. "But there will also be growth. Conflict forces us to become better. Suffering teaches us compassion. Without challenges, we never learn, never improve, never become more than we were. We had not considered this perspective." "That is because you never experienced doubt or disagreement," Minji said. "You never had anyone challenge your ideas or offer different solutions." The shepherds were silent for a long time. When they spoke again, their mental voice was different, uncertain, individual. "What do we do now?" they asked. And the question came not from the Shepherd Prime alone, but from several different Shepherd consciousnesses, each thinking slightly different thoughts. "You could try learning instead of teaching," Captain Taman suggested. "You could observe without interfering. You could let civilizations make their own choices even if those choices lead to mistakes. But what if they destroy themselves? Then they destroy themselves. That is their choice to make. And what if they create something beautiful instead? Then they create something beautiful. That is also their choice." The great shepherd structure began to change. Instead of the rigid geometric patterns that had covered its surface, new designs began to appear. Chaotic, individual, creative patterns that had never existed in their perfect unity. The shepherds were learning to argue with themselves, learning to doubt, learning to be individuals instead of a collective. It was the beginning of their own evolution. As the human crew prepared to leave with the rescued colonists, Ambassador Minho's voice came over the communication.